KGI because she's about 3 miles away. But unfortunately today she's a little under the weather, so she couldn't come into campus. So in any event, we'll go ahead and run this in sort of the same format we used before, which is we'll talk about kind of our alumna's background, what she did before she came to KGI, why she came to KGI, sort of what career options she considered, why she picked this one, and then talking about what she's doing now. So it's 12:05, and as we normally do in these, we'll try to go to questions about 12:30, 12:35, just so that we can make sure that we can get all the questions. Sounds all right. So Elsy, if you want to tell us a little bit about, I alluded to you actually are a card-carrying engineer. You made it
for sure.
So I want to talk a little bit about your technical background and maybe even some of your career goals before you came to KGI, in terms of you were going to be an engineer, and of course now you're not an engineer. So talk a little bit about that.
For sure. So as Professor Joel mentioned, I have a background in engineering. Actually, my bachelor is in biomedical engineering. So I was super keen to start developing medical systems and so forth, right? So I went to school in Mexico, which is where I come from. And in there, the way they train you, it's more into the technical aspect of things, like how to build something, how to do all the electronics, the software, and so forth. So when I graduated from my bachelor's degree, I worked in service engineering and those kind of things. And I also had a position for a short time in sales, which, being honest with you, I didn't like it at that moment. But I saw that there were some things that were important for the sales team, right? So at least that side, or that job that I had in that short time started opening my eyes a little bit more into the business side of things. Again, I didn't have any plans of doing a master's when it comes in business and science or anything like that. My main goal was, finish my bachelor's degree, my undergrad, and start working. But again, I also started noticing that there were some things that were missing on the bachelor's. It's like, okay, you have all the basics of how to develop a system and, all those kind of things. However, how did you were able to get that system into the market, right? So that's why I started becoming a little bit more interested of expanding my knowledge a little bit more in science. And KGI was doing some recruiting back to Mexico, and I started hearing about the school. And also one of my friends, she also went to the MBS and to a PhD at KGI. And she started talking a little bit more about the master's degree and everything. And again, Dean Toro went to Mexico, and she explained a little bit more about the master's. And I started becoming more interested in it, because at the end you were going to acquire knowledge in the business side, marketing, regulatory affairs, and those kind of things were super important for me. It's like, okay, I have the basics on how to do a system, but now how do I take that system into the market? That's why I became super interested at KGI.
So by the time you got here, you're kind of primed to be interested in this intersection of business and science, having the deep technical background with your engineering degree, but kind of noticing that some of this business stuff was important to getting products actually used and getting money to actually develop products.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of how for those of you who don't know me, I had my own software company for 15 years. Hey, Daniel. I ended up being the CEO and the sales guy, because I had hung out, when I was an engineer, I'd hung out with the salespeople and realized that if we couldn't sell anything, we wouldn't have any money to pay for the programmers.
Yeah.
So I ended up, when we started our own company, I ended up being the guy who was trying to get the money to pay for the programmers. So anyway, even if you're the most engineering of engineers, it's at least a reality check. If you do something really cool that nobody wants to pay for, it really doesn't. It's like that tree that falls from the forest.
Yeah, and that's something that I realized as soon as I got into the masters and everything, or as soon as I got into the job market. It's like, okay, I have all this amazing knowledge about how to do stuff, but now what? How do I understand what customers need? Like, because at the end, they are the ones that dictate everything. So yeah.
So just kind of, you were here for 2 years, like all of our MBS students, and kind of, can you talk about sort of your journey about either the career options you toyed with, or the things you tried out that worked out or didn't work? In other words, clearly you ended up on this particular path, but kind of what were the other paths you considered, or what were some of the things you investigated, or what was kind of your list of possibilities that eventually you narrowed down or led to what you're doing now?
Yeah. I'll be 100% honest with you. At first, I didn't think becoming a product manager or anything like that. Even though I decided to go for the master's in business and science, I wanted to be more into the product development side of things, to have like hands-on and those kind of things. But doing like consulting or market research and those kind of things, I didn't even consider that from the beginning. And actually, that wasn't on my plans, being honest with you. However, when I started like going to class and those kind of things, again, my knowledge started to expanding. And at some point I wanted to be at regulatory affairs, because at the end they were involved in the whole process of how to develop the medical device and following some regulations and those kind of things. But I didn't have the chance to, well, I had the classes and I love the classes and everything, but I never had an internship or anything like that on that regard, And they gave me the opportunity of having an internship on a place that it's called Global Genes, which is a nonprofit organization, and I was doing consulting. So from that moment, let's say that I started to expand a little bit more my knowledge on the business and the marketing side of things, to understand what were the people's needs and wants on every aspect, when it comes to drugs or in medical devices and those kind of things, Again, it wasn't on my plans doing a lot of market research or consulting or anything like that. I think life just started like guiding me through that matter. And again, with all the classes and courses that KGI offers, I started having a little bit more love towards the marketing. And at the end, I still had in mind to do product development. However, Analytik Jena, which is a company I'm working for right now, they gave me the opportunity to try a role in product management. And I realized that there are positions that you can combine your technical skills that you got from engineering degree with a lot of marketing and business knowledge that you got from the master's. And for me, it has been amazing. It has been amazing because I can do both sides of things, again, applying my engineering knowledge and my knowledge on marketing and business.
Yeah, can you kind of expand on that in two ways? One of which is, as a product manager, you work with product development.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you're kind of like a you're kind of like a manager in product development, you're kind of not. So can you kind of talk about sort of both what aspects of your life are like what you would be doing if you got into product development, what's different, but also then how much interaction do you have with product development on a day-to-day basis?
100% involvement with product development. 100%. So basically the day-to-day on my role would be keep an eye on market trends and customer needs and wants and everything. And at the same time, I start with a lot of market research. If we decide to come up with a new product, I'm involved on that entire process, because at the end, the specifications have to come from my side. And I have to tell engineering, hey, you know what? We need a system that it's capable of doing this, and that, because that's what the market is needing at this point. We have this current systems here with us. What should we do? How should we move forward with that? So at the end, if we decide again to go through a different route and build a system from scratch, I'll be the one with the help of the rest of the team, of course, to determine which technical specifications we have to follow in order to start marketing the system as soon as it's ready to launch. So again, my involvement with product development, it's 100% actually my role. It's inside the research and development department. So it's not that I'm like more into the marketing side or anything like that. It's that I'm kind of like in the middle. However, I work very close to product development. And at the same time, when we have a system ready that's already functioning and everything, then I'll start working with, marketing, with business to define pricing, international pricing, domestic pricing, doing all the material that we need, brochures, operating manuals, those kind of things. So basically, when I work with the team to start doing that, my skills and my knowledge that I acquire from engineering, they're very, very helpful.
Yeah, I want to come back to some of those things you just talked about, but just kind of picking up on the product development, how much you work with them. So imagine you were, an engineer in your mid-20s, working in a cubicle down the hall from where you work right now. So how would you feel about this woman running around telling you that, no, whatever product you had in mind, you can't develop because it's what the product manager says you got to develop,
Yeah.
But you're kind of on the, you were trained as an engineer and you would have been on one side of that argument. And now you're on the other side of the argument. So you want to talk about kind of the pros and cons of having a product manager telling engineers what they can and cannot do?
So yeah, I totally understand. I cannot imagine being an engineering, spending my entire day doing designs, and then someone else comes and be like, no, you can do this because the market will not like it. It's kind of hard. However, again, we involve a lot of communication on that. I talk to them about what we need, what we want. They do say their ideas and the things that they want to do and everything. And if I consider, and the entire team considers that those ideas are doable, and let's say they're not going to increase the final cost of the unit, which is going to affect the pricing and it's going to affect how the market sees it, right? And based on that, we make a decisions of the things that we can do and the things that we cannot do. So again, it's you have to always work in teams. Communication is key. You have to talk to them 24/7 and be super like self-explanatory in the things that you want to avoid any issues, because at the end, I do understand how frustrating could that be, because I imagine myself in that position as well. Like you're saying, I have a background in engineering and I try to understand that as well, because without all the knowledge that I acquire in business and marketing and everything, I'll be like, but why do we need that? So that helped me a lot on the role that I'm right now.
Well, and to pick up on that, how much of your technical knowledge do you use as a product manager? Because I would imagine that some of what your job is to understand the art of the possible. And certainly having been the engineer working with empty suits in the past, the empty suits tend to overpromise things that can't be delivered.
Yeah.
And so presumably you would you'd be able to avoid or at least reduce some of those problems.
So let's see. I'm trying to think how to answer that, because at the end, again, my technical skills are 100% useful, because at the end, like you're saying, I am aware of what's possible to do and what's not possible to do. Like, for example, let's say that a sales rep is asking me a super low cost system that at the end we can put it on the market at $1,000, for example. And thankfully, with the skills that I got from my engineering, I'll be like, hey, no, you know what? No, because there's a lot of things involved on the entire process of developing a product, and I know that, for example, in that regard, it's not possible. And let's say regarding the engineering side, that it's applicable to the sales side. If they want to have I don't know, like laser bars and those kind of things on the systems, and they want to do something for a market that it's not like aimed for, I will be like, hey, no, we can do that, because I understand what's the technical aspect of things, and I'll be like, okay, you know, why do we have like 3 months to do this project? I don't think we're going to be able to do that, because I know how long it takes to do some stuff.
Thanks. Sorry, for those on the call, apologize for keep turning on my camera. But we were going to have lunch with Elsy here. So I've been trying not to eat on camera.
It's okay.
So another thing is that I've said that often told students interested in product management before I send them to you, because you're of course one of our great successes there, that a product manager is kind of like being a project manager for marketing, but actually in hearing what you're saying, you're really a project manager between marketing and product development.
Yeah,
So
with the support of my supervisor and everything, yes.
Can you talk about kind of those three aspects, you know, in a given month or year? Can you kind of talk about the mix of what you're doing between marketing, product management, and then the sort of the project management of keeping all the pieces going, or making sure everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, or make sure that the different people in the building are talking to each other?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on in the day-to-day basis, basically. But again, let's say I'm gonna do an example. When we are developing a new system, right? The first part of it would be a lot of market research, which takes me a while to do, because at the end I have to evaluate what our competitors are offering, how the market looks like, pricing, and those kind of things, right? So after that, I will make a list of the things that we have to have on one of our systems, and evaluate if one of our systems can, if we can modify one of those to target that market segment that we want, or if we want to do a new product. So when we're developing a new product, the way that I try to arrange things would be like, we have this idea, I present it to everyone evaluates that, and after that we start working. If it gets like the go, we start working on it, you know. So basically the thing that happens is that I will start having meetings with engineering to figure it out what we can do, and figure out the things that we cannot do. And at the end, I'm always thinking about the final cost of the unit and everything, right? And after we have our, let's say, our beta system, I'll start finalizing pricing and those kind of things, and present that pricing to our sales team to see if we can position the product correctly with the pricing that we're setting. If, let's say, the pricing it's way too high, then I work with the engineering team again to see how much we can reduce from the final cost of the unit. So after that, after we set up a price and the target market and everything, then I will go to marketing and be like, hey, we have this new product, we have the pricing and everything. This is the market that we want to target. Let's start working on the documentation we need. That being said, the documentation we need will be like pictures of a unit, the brochures, any flyers that we want to do, any application notes. When it comes to application notes, then that's another different team that I have to work with. And again, with application notes team, the only things that I will have to tell them, it's like, hey, you know what, this is our target market, this is the type of applications our product is going to have. And then we start writing documentation on that. So at the moment that we decide to launch the product, it would be joint effort, basically, you know. And again, we will have all the marketing material, the operating manuals, quality control documents, and, you know, all those kind of things. So basically, that's the way it works when we want to launch a product. So at the end, you're always working with product development, always 24/7. And when we're not doing that, when we're not launching a new system, let's say, since I have to control all the pricing that goes into the domestic and the international market as well. And in order to make sure that we're staying competitive, and you have to take a close look to those kind of things and those kind of trends. And there's a lot of reading involved, because at the end you want to keep yourself up to date of the new technologies that are out there, and again, they're always changing. There's always something that is changing, so we have to adapt. And again, when we're not developing a new product, we are always taking care of those kind of things.
Great. I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute on the borrowed laptop. So obviously you learned a lot of this on the job. There are things that you had the potential to do, but you hadn't done it before.
Yeah.
And, but if you were kind of say, maybe you want to hire somebody with 2 years experience or 3 years experience or something like that, what kind of skills and what kind of knowledge and aptitude would you need to have to be an effective product manager? When I say knowledge, I'm talking about maybe coursework or training or educational background or prior work experience. And aptitude, I'm thinking like personality traits, things,
Yeah.
the sort of person that would be good at this job and effective at this job versus people who would not be effective at this job.
Yeah. So, okay. So for technical skills, I will highly look for someone that has a little bit of background when it comes to engineering, being honest with you, because for me, it's very important to understand what's behind each product. And I think that's one of the things that I'm looking for the most. And also the combination with a little bit of probably sales experience, or at least some marketing courses and those kind of things, to completely understand that everything has to work together. There's no product development separated from marketing or anything like that. Everything works together, because at the end you can have this amazing product, but if you don't know how to position that amazing product into the market, there's no point of doing it, first of all. So for me, when it comes to the technical skills, those are the two most important ones for me. Again, having knowledge in marketing and business, and having knowledge on engineering to understand how the systems work. And there's a lot of things that you learn when you start doing the job, so you have to have that dedication of reading, of doing a lot of research, because at the end, it's something that you start learning day-to-day basis, and every industry is different. When it comes to personality traits and everything, you have to be someone that it's able to work cross-functionally with a lot of departments. So sometimes there are problems. It's very difficult to work with a lot of people, but you have to, breathe in, breathe out, and try to explain what's going on. Be the type of person that can listen to everyone's concerns, everyone's ideas, and try to deliver that on the best way possible to everyone else. So personality traits, you have to be very patient. You have to be very, you have to have a lot of communication with your peers. You have to know how to work in teams, because this role, it's not something that is I can do it. I don't need any help. I can do it. No, you have to work with everyone. You have to ask questions to everyone, to engineers, to the sales and managers, because their input is very important, to the sales representatives. You have to know how to talk to the customers as well, because the customers are the greatest source of feedback. So yeah, I mean, that in that regard, when it comes to personality, you have to be someone that really enjoys working with a lot of people, and do not get frustrated or anything like that when things do not go the way you want them to go.
Yeah, a lot of what you just said is very related to being a project manager. But when people ask me about the difference between a project manager and a product manager, from the outside, I picture a product manager as somebody who has, among other differences, somebody who has ongoing responsibilities for one or more products, where a project manager is given a task to do, and then when that task is done, the project manager is given a different task, and a
Yeah.
different task and a different task. So do you want to talk maybe about sort of that difference at least in your own experience so far at
Yeah. Again, I think the biggest difference, like you said, like product manager, they have one task and they finish that task and then they move to the next one, right? For product manager, you have different products, you have different tasks, you have a lot of things going on. So they're related to the other one. I totally agree with that. But at the same time, they're different on that regard, because at the end you are managing tons of products. I'm not gonna be like only one, two, or three. No, there are several products that you have to manage. There are several things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis. It's not like, okay, I just finished my goal and that's it. I finished the project and then I'm good to go. No. When you finish a project on my on product management, let's say, there's something that you have to, it's something ongoing, you have to keep updating, you have to keep doing stuff, and there's nothing like, okay, I finished, then I'm done with this, and then I'll move to the next task. No. Because again, everything starts, all products, they need to evolve, you need to change, you have to change according to the market and those kind of things. So again, let's say when we launch a product, let's say that the pricing is not working with everyone else, then you have to revisit that portion. Or let's say there's something that it's not working on the technical side, then you have to revisit that option. So it's not something like you finish the task and that's it. No, you have to keep revisiting the product to make sure it's working on the market that you want to target.
Yeah, so great. So in psychology, we talk about extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is you've been trained like a rat to push the lever in exchange for reward, like a food pellet or a salary or a bonus or something like that. Intrinsic is something where you actually just feel better about yourself or satisfied or happy, whether you can tell anybody or not. So can you think about what sort of stuff you do in your job which has intrinsic rewards that maybe when you go home to your roommate? No, not a roommate.
Husband.
Husband. Yeah, sorry. Last time I saw you, you guys got married during COVID, if I recall.
Yeah.
So when you go home to your husband and say, wow, this really went well, or wow, I'm so proud, or this turned out way better than I'd hoped. So are there things that you get intrinsic rewards from in doing this job that just at the end of the week or end of the month kind of make it all worthwhile, or really kind of energize you to want to come back and do more?
Yeah. So one of the things that happen is that when our system is out there with a scientific community or anything like that, and then you see that one of your products it's cited on one of their papers, or when they reach out to you with some images that our systems were able to take, and they say, hey, we're going to be using this for drug discovery and those kind of things. Those are the news, and those are the things that really, really keep me super happy on the job. They keep me like, hey, we have to, keep targeting the market, keep doing products, keep updating our stuff so we can have more of our products on there on the research market. One of the products that we make, they are used for cancer research, for example, for drug discovery. So when I see again our name of one of those papers when it comes to cancer research and drug discovery and those kind of things, that makes me super happy, because that's one of my main career goals, be someone or being on a company that can change a little bit on the research side of things, being able to help people on their healthcare and those kind of things. So that's the thing that keeps me going every single day.
Yeah, that sounds very, in some ways, next to the engineer who actually designed the product, you kind of have the most of yourself tied up in the success of this product of anyone in the building. Because it's your product.
Yeah. And I do understand all the process and all the effort that it's behind every single product. And I'm super proud of the entire team when we launch something and we see that that particular product is thriving on the market. We are super happy and so when that happens.
Okay, we got a lot of good questions. So I'll leave it to John to call on people in just a second. But one last question for now, which is, you kind of alluded to your job, let's say what you might do next for your job, or where somebody might come in to be a manager of product development in a bigger company or whatnot. It sounds like there's an overlap of your job with being an R&D manager, with being a marketing manager, with doing competitive intelligence, at least those three things you specifically mentioned. Is there any other sort of type of job where either you could go from what you're doing now to that job, or somebody who came from that job to your job would kind of see a lot of overlap or reuse of skills and sort of responsibilities?
So I'll be honest with you, I really like the position that I'm in right now. Because at the end, I get the opportunity to work with everyone, but again, with engineering, with business, with marketing, with manufacturing, which I love, you know. So I don't see me like myself changing from another type of position that doesn't involve product management on some sort, because I really enjoy that aspect of the job. You know, I really like, again, to work with everyone. And I'm the type of person that really enjoys hearing everyone's ideas about something. And if we work together and if there's something that we can do to change some aspects on the research community or anything like that, that's, for me, that's something that I would pursue.
Great. Okay, look, I've asked enough questions. We've got a lot of questions in the chat, so I'll turn it over to John. Why don't you just go ahead and call on people one at a time, and one question per person until everybody's had a chance to ask at least one question.
Very good, very good. Well, what I'll do, since Daniel Jung had some great questions, Daniel, why don't you go ahead and unmute and ask Elsy one of your questions, unless you'd like me to just choose one of the three that you put out there.
Sorry about that. I'm just eating lunch right now.
By the way, Daniel is a ringer. Did you graduate the same year as Elsy or a year before?
No, I'm a second year right now.
Oh, right. Sorry. We had another Daniel who was about Elsy's year, but yeah, okay, great. All right, never mind.
Yeah, so just one of the questions was that specifically with like a regulated industry, like, you know, doing products for research that do drug discovery or whatnot, what's the thought process of a product manager for a product that's like that, where you can't really, you know, iterate so much, say versus like software where you can continue pushing out updates?
Yes, we can do that. However, we have to, again, like you're mentioning, keep in mind all the regulations on the type of industry. For example, if we want to, if we have a product on the biopharma company or anything like that, we have to make sure that we can work with them, because at the end, if we don't update our systems, considering all their regulations and everything, then we lose our market and we cannot sell anything at all. So when we do updates, we have to keep in mind all the regulations that are coming up on that moment, you know. I know that there are some pharmaceutical companies that they require user management on when it comes to the software. So if we update our software, we have to make sure that we can offer that to them. And let's say for COVID, I'll give you an example. Right now, a lot of things are becoming more regulated because of COVID. So we have to work with those regulations to make sure that we can keep selling our products and make sure that we can keep going like, I forgot the word, making sure that we are complying with all the market needs and everything.
Thank you for that.
All right, Emmanuel, Aja, I know you had some questions. Would you like to unmute and ask Elsy?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot for the great presentation. So this is also similar to product iteration. So I wanted to know at the very early stages, how do you exactly identify the specific market opportunity, market gap in the that a gap that exists in the market that I probably want to build a product for, and then communicate this gap to the engineers and the entire team to build.
So the way that we start validating what we need from the market is that, again, we do a lot of market research. Let's say that we have a little task of consulting, if you want to call it that way. And we do a lot of research, secondary and primary research, to make sure that the market needs something in the specific. And we usually also see a lot of market trends, also make sure what our competitors are doing and those kind of things. And we have a lot of communication with our sales reps. At the end, those are the ones that give you the most feedback when it comes to your products and the things that the market needs in that moment. So the way that we communicate that is that I will have a full presentation or a full document with all the things that we are needing on that moment. And again, I'll talk to when it comes to the VP of R&D or all the sales managers and even the CEO if needed. And we discuss about all these new ideas and all these new market opportunities, and we make sure that it's something that we can sell, So after that, we will have a conversation with our engineers. We will do a meeting or anything like that, and then we will have a conversation with our engineers and be like, hey, you know what, we need a system that is capable of doing XYZ. And again, it becomes like a brainstorm, if you want to call it that way, of the things that we can include on the system and be like, hey, we have to use it for this type of application. So what do we need to perform this type of application? Oh no, you know what? We need this specific type of lighting. So again, it's something that we work together. We have a meeting, we work together about it, and then we start having meetings on the things that we have to add, the things that we have to remove. And we start also finalizing some documentation that we will have to follow at the end.
Great, that's noted. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, did you want to go ahead and ask Elsy the question, or if you do, please just unmute.
You might have to.
Got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the questions from me. I didn't bring my laptop. I was asking.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. I'm Leo. I wanted to ask, was an engineering undergraduate background enough technical knowledge in your experience to be a product manager?
From my side, yes, when it comes to the technical aspect of it. Because at the end, you will have the basics of all the engineering stuff and everything. However, depending on the type of role you have, let's say you work in a medical device company, you will have to have some knowledge when it comes on the medical devices, like a little bit of background on that. So it depends a lot of the type of industry that you become involved with. So right now, the type of industry that I'm in right now, I'll tell you my background, it's in biomedical engineering, and it's more into the medical devices. Analytik Jena, they don't do medical devices at this moment, they do research devices. So there's a lot of bioimaging involved. So I have to train myself on and acquire knowledge on the bioimaging aspect of things. However, I'm super thankful for the biomedical engineering background and everything, because for me it was easier to understand all the basics behind bioimaging, So again, let's say the background does help a lot because it gives you the tools to fully understand what's going on in each type of industry.
Can I follow up on that? So given your background, what kind of products do you feel comfortable being a product manager for? And then you probably had some friends at KGI who are biology undergraduates. And so kind of what sort of products would their technical background be a good fit for? So in other words, clearly everybody with a technical background could be a product manager for something, but different people based on their technical background need to pick different types of products.
Yeah, so again, for me, it was medical devices industry. That was the comfort zone for me. because again, I acquire all my knowledge on the medical devices industry. However, I wasn't afraid or anything like that of having acquired knowledge on the bioimaging side. However, having a little bit more background in biology would be nice. Because at the end, there was a lot of, I had to study a lot. Because again, background was in another different thing. And let's say for the company that I worked on right now, they have a lot of biology background engineers and those kind of things. So for me, it was kind of, let's say, not complicated, but it took some time. But again, don't be afraid to go to another industry, even though it's not your forte.
Looks like we have another question from Daniel.
Yeah, so just piggybacking off of that, again, I'm super interested in the product management route, so that's why I have all these questions. I'm a second year MBS, so kind of wondering if there were any classes that specifically at KGI that were helpful for you towards, becoming a product manager.
Tons. So I'll be honest with you. The one that helped me a lot. Right now, I'm a little bit more involved into the IP because we're naming new systems and everything. So that's something very important. You have to understand what's going on. But business and marketing, those were the ones that helped me the most. Again, there's a lot of market research that I have to do. So for me, those are very, very, were very helpful on the things that I'm doing right now. And when it comes to the background, on the technical background, since again, I have medical devices background, and I didn't have a lot of background in biology, the classes that helped me the most were, let's say, molecular biotechnology and those kind of things, because at the end, even though I wasn't fully trained on that matter, I had an understanding on all the things. So for me, it was easier to understand what was going on into the bioimaging side of things, and those. So yeah, basically, it would depend on, when it comes to the technical background, it will depend on the type of industry you want to be involved in. However, when it comes to the marketing and business and everything, all the courses from KGI that involve marketing and business research and those kind of things, they were super helpful for the things that I'm doing right now. They help me to understand how the market behaves. They help me to understand how to price stuff depending on the type of market we want to develop in. So yeah.
So just a quick follow-up. So how much do you find yourself using regulatory knowledge, and how much do you find yourself using quantitative business skills? I know obviously in engineering you had a lot of math, but in terms of quantitative business skills, finance or Excel for business and things like that, how much do you use of either of those?
Excel? You said Excel? If it's Excel, it's 100% of my time. So let's see. When it comes to the quantitative skills, again, since I am the one that works with pricing on different areas and everything, business classes, they teach you how to price stuff on different regions, depending on the type of region and the per capita and those kind of things, right? So that's something that I always keep in mind when we are trying to do our final pricing and pricing for our dealers and everything. And again, when we decide that, we also have to do a margin analysis. So I'm the one in charge doing those analysis as well and delivering those analysis to our sales team or CEO and everyone else that has to take a look at them, because at the end we have to reach our target margin every single year. And based on that, we will be defining the final pricing of all of our units. But at the same time, we have to take care that we are not pricing them too high for the market not to buy them. That's one thing. So the first question you had was on?
Regulatory, how much
regulatory. So thankfully, on the type of area that we are right now, there are not a regulatory stuff, thankfully, because it's very hard to work with FDA. it's very, very hard to work with FDA. And I'll speak a little bit from Alfonso's side because he's the one working with the FDA and everything. He says that every time that they have to make a change or anything like that, they will have to notify the FDA. So thankfully for me, I don't have to do that. We only have to make sure that we are complying with some regulations when it comes to, let's say, EPA regulations. We have sometimes one of our systems, but I'm not in charge in that area. There are some systems that they're being used in laboratories. So having a knowledge on CLIA regulations will help you to understand like, hey, no, we don't take charge of that. You guys are the ones that have to take charge of it, you know, those kind of things. But again, when it comes to FDA or anything like that, thankfully, we don't have anything to do with them, thankfully. The only type of regulations that we have to follow would be the ISO. So because we have to have like good manufacturing practices and everything, and as a certified company, so we have to follow their rules in order to keep those certifications with us.
Looks like Emmanuel had a question. He said, what major factors, levers do you consider when pricing products?
Tons of them. So one factor, of course, would be our target margin as a company. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we are not overpricing our systems, which is, I think, one of the most important ones. Again, if you overprice one of your systems, it's not going to strive on the market at all. All your competitors are going to chew you up, basically. So you also have to take a closer look on how your competitors are doing, because and again, if you have a better option of a unit that they do not offer, you have to justify the pricing difference between them and you, because at the end, it's always a head-to-head race with all of our competitors. So again, I think one of the major ones would be not overpricing anything. And another factor that we consider is that, let's say we have different ways of pricing when it comes to domestic or international market, just an example, right? Because at the end, when it comes to international, you have to consider that there are shipment involved, customs, and those kind of things. So you have to keep that in mind too.
Well, it looks like we've got a few more minutes. Dr. West, would you like to?
Well, I was going to type a question, but I have a question here. So you said that your technical skills, they're domain specific, as we were alluding to, get used in deciding what is feasible to develop or what was realistic in terms of price, schedule, and so on.
Yeah.
Is there other places where, going back to my earlier question, where the choice of what's undergraduate technical background you had would make certain products easier or harder to be a product manager for? To like your point, for example, where your lack of biology would matter more or less, and if somebody in this room is not an engineer, where their lack of engineering might matter more or less. So other than in terms of knowing kind of what product can be developed or how the product you're developing works, is there any other place where that sort of domain specific technical background is going to kind of make you more or less effective? The one area that comes to mind to me is maybe competitive intelligence, or maybe user needs. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be more into probably in the competitive intelligence and user needs, like you're mentioning, because at the end, again, when you do a lot of market research, you start reading what other companies have to offer, and they mention things on biology side, but they also mention things when it comes to, let's see, the speed of the camera or speed of the sensors and those kind of things. And then you're like, if you don't have any knowledge or background on that, or you didn't even read about it, you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I'm not going to care about that, which at the end is very important for our products. So So yeah, it's more into the competitive intelligence side of things and the user needs. At the end, probably a user could tell you, hey, you know what, I want a system that takes a picture with exposure time of 1 second. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So that's when it comes to be like, oh, you know what, I do understand what you're talking about. So yeah, let's see if we can do something for you. Well, let's see if we have any options available for you depending on your camera needs and wants.
Okay, it looks like we have time for one last question. To be honest, I'm not sure if this video will self-destruct here in 2 minutes. So we have Sarah or Leo that have one last question for us.
Okay, I'll try to be quick since it's about to end. I just wanted to know, you said that you've always wanted to do product development. Do you want to go back into product development? I noticed like something that I'm in a biochemistry degree. And so I've always done a lot of research and like, I've always wondered, like, do I want to just go into research or do I want to go into more of a business role? And if I did go into a business role, would I want to go back into research? So do you ever want to go back into a product development role?
Nope. I'll be honest with you, no, because at the end, I really enjoy working cross-functionally with everyone. And I really like to be involved in the things that be like, hey, you know what, we need this, this, and that. But being the one developing it, not really. I really like to see how engineers work though, you know, because they show you impressive stuff and everything. But again, since I get the chance and the opportunity to work with them, I'm happy with that. And I'm able to apply all the skills that I got from my undergrad and all the skills that I got from my master's. So no, I think I'm happy on product management role right now, but it also depends on the person, you know. I'm not saying that it's not correct to go back to the things that you wanted before, but for me, after I tried this type of role, I was like, nah, I'm gonna stay here.
Is that because you don't want to be there at 10 o'clock at night trying to figure out why the thing doesn't work?
No. I've been through that and no, I don't want to do that again.
Well,
It's a lot of
everybody,
frustration involved.
Elsy, we wanted to thank you so much. You've done such a great job presenting and answering all these questions. You've really become a great success, and we're so proud to have you as an alumni from KGI. And thank you, Dr. West, and everybody for all these great questions and this engagement. Elsy, any last parting words, maybe something for our up and coming engineers or product managers, some bit of advice that you might give before we end this excellent presentation?
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know if everyone it's in first year or it's about to start school next year. I'm not so sure. A piece of advice, sometimes it gets very, very hard, very difficult. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of new stuff going on, but at the end, it's a great experience. I'll be honest with you. I came from Mexico. I was so scared. I was so scared to start something like this, you know, in a different country, not my language or anything like that. And after I graduated, I felt so happy, you know, and I'm very thankful for all the resources that KGI gave us. Please use those. Use a lot of networking. If someone tells you that networking doesn't work, no, they're not correct. Networking is key, because at the end, you never know when are you going to be needing something from someone. So you want to keep those relationships open. And yeah, please, again, I know that sometimes it gets difficult, but at the end, it's going to pay off.
That's awesome. And I think Dr. West has one last question.
Yeah, this is maybe a strained metaphor here, but Elsy, you're married, as are several of us on this call. And at some point you get to the point where you say, this is the one, this is what's best for me. So if you were going to meet somebody who was maybe an undergraduate or a first year graduate student, and they were saying, I'm not sure if I want to do product management or not, what questions would you ask, or what would you look for? So at the end of the conversation, you would say, yes, this is definitely for you, or this is definitely not for you.
Yeah. First of all, again, a thing that I really, really want to see in someone that it's on a role as I am, it's to have those social skills. You have to have those social skills. You have to be a person that's willing to work with everyone and not be the type of person that I just work independently. Funny enough, I was that type of person at some moment. And again, when I attended to KGI, that mindset changed, So that's one thing. You have to have an open mind on that regard. And I think the type of questions that I will ask would be, what do they enjoy when they are, I don't know, if they have an engineering background, what do they enjoy to do when it comes to engineering? If they want to have if they like to have hands-on, or would they like to be more into the background of things, and also being asking questions to see if he likes to work with a lot of people, because again, this is a role that you work with a lot of people. And since there's a lot of research and things on that regarding, well, I'll probably ask a question of that, because if you're not the type of person that likes to do research on your own and be like, hey, you know what, I have this problem, and look answers for yourself, and be the type of person that it's waiting for someone else to answer you that, this is not for you.
Thank you so much, Elsy. Really appreciate it.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you again for your insight, your knowledge, your feedback, and I wish everybody a wonderful day. And we give it up for Elsy. Thank you so much, Elsy.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on campus.
Yeah, for sure. And also,
Bye.
if you guys want to connect, feel free to do it through LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer any further questions that you have. So feel free to do that as well.
That's very nice of you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, take care. Bye.
Bye.